Now, it had been intended as a routine mission against Islamist militants, criminal gangs and bandits who've been terrorizing northwest Nigeria for years, raiding villages and kidnapping residents for ransom and enslavement. But instead, it resulted in what's been described as a needless tragedy, with at least 85 civilians, possibly more, killed after an army drone struck a village in Kaduna State during a Muslim festival celebrating the birth of the Prophet Muhammad. When the drone first attacked, survivors rushed in to recover the mangled bodies that were reportedly hanging from trees and rooftops. But then another drone strike hit, killing more people and raising the casualty figure dramatically. It's not the first time such an incident has occurred. Within the last 6 years, more than 400 civilians have been killed in so-called accidental air raids. Drones are, of course, not autonomous, but do have human operators at the other end who are watching what they're doing. So why such wanton unprofessionalism?
It's regrettable, but we will do everything possible to prevent such an occurrence happening again in the conduct of our operations going forward. I've gone around to visit and interact with the members of the community. I've come again now to the hospital to see the injured. And this will help me to know the level of expertise that I need to put on the table in conducting the inquiry into what happened on Sunday, so that that inquiry can come up with relevant recommendations that will guide us in the conduct of our operations going forward.
With more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the former secretary to the Chief of Defense Staff's committee that negotiated the release of the last batch of trained hostages, Professor Usman Yusuf, who is also a noted public policy expert. Prof, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Charles, thank you for having me.
What are your thoughts about this incident? Because there have been conflicting reports about what happened, but unquestionably, lots of people have been killed and injured.
Yes. First of all is anger. It is St. Aquinas that said, he who is not angry when there is a just cause to be angry is immoral. This is unacceptable. For a military, our military that is supposed to protect us, dropping ordnance and killing our people. They did it once there. They did it again. What it showed for me is one, sheer incompetence. The young operative that was there in front of the screen did not do that alone. If he did that alone, why did he have the authority to do that alone? There must have been a chain of command that he escalated that to, that gave him the authority to do what he did. Number two, don't they have intelligence? These were women and children. And we saw their clips when they were celebrating before these bombs were dropped at them when they became charcoal. Women and children. And you tell us they are terrorists? Don't you have your people on the ground? What is intelligence for? Shows clear incompetence. It shows there is no supervision along the chain of command. I'm a physician. If my juniors do anything wrong, they don't do anything until they escalate to me. What is the chain of command? That you allow a young operative, wherever he is, just to press a button to go and incinerate our people. This is not the first time. It's happened before in Borno. It's happened in Nasarawa recently. I was here. We talked about that. It happened in Zamfara. It happened in Benue. It's on, and each time the military comes and tells us it was a mistake, regrettable. Well, guess what? This one mistake too many. And all of these things happen in the north.
Well, I have to say that Nigeria's defense headquarters claimed that the militants they were targeting were embedded in the civilian populace in that village in Kaduna State known as Ligama. and that aerial surveillance captured the movement of people, which appeared to be similar to the tactics of the militants. But that's not a good enough reason, is it?
It's annoying. It's annoying, and they should stop that nonsense. Whoever signed that should be taken off, not speak for the military. At a time when people are grieving, you're making excuses. You're making excuses. You've incinerated our people, and you're coming to justify the nonsense you did. It's not acceptable. We are not in any mood for this shenanigan, incompetence, outright incompetence, and this is nothing but state-sponsored massacre. The world is watching.
And of course, security from fear is the most fundamental thing that each of us desires. And it is also the very first job of the government. But has the government been too complacent about the safety of Nigerians? And has the protective bubble they're supposed to surround citizens with now on the verge of bursting? I'm wondering what the national implications might be of what happened.
And I'll tell you, security. Our President and Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, from his words, deeds, and body language, he's not interested in security. All he's interested in is the economy where the money is. He's planted his people. Security, banditry, and all that appears irritants to him.
But in fairness to him, he responded very quickly to this. And I'm just hearing that he's just returned to Nigeria.
Yeah, he blocked.
And he is ordered an investigation, condoled with the families, and that's a presidential thing to do.
No, it's not. It's presidential thing. You are hands-on. Mr. President, we don't see him hands-on our security. This is a democracy. We are literally what we are saying, what is looking like our military is not supervised by a civilian authority. They have gone rogue, dropping bombs on our people. They are not answerable to anybody. In the United States, where I live, where we copy this presidential system, the military is subordinate to civilian authority. Where are our ministers of defense? Our ministers of defense have been reduced just to chaperoning service chiefs to security meetings. They are the ones to appear, not uniformed services. They are just there talking, looking like what? So the president has literally outsourced our security to uniformed services, to the military. No, military take orders from civilians in a democracy. And no young operative should be allowed to drop a bomb without escalating. That is why, whatever Mr. President is planning to do, investigation, the military, Mr. President, cannot investigate itself. We've had several incidences of that. Have we had anything about this? Our recommendation, I will continue to raise our voices, there should be an independent judicial panel headed by a retired former CJN. And there should be a former chief of service chief there, with traditional rulers, with religious leaders, with CSOs that are looking at protecting civilians. The military has not been able to investigate itself. So the chief of army staff coming to say we are investigating, no, Mr. President, do the right thing. Bring an independent judicial panel to investigate these occurrences. And the military suspend all drone activities within that area until this thing is sorted out. Because what it has shown us is that your people are not capable, are not trained enough to protect our people. You are going to bomb people. If there are terrorists there, you abort. You don't drop a bomb to fry women and children. It's not acceptable, it's reprehensible, and people must take responsibility from Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, General Officer commanding in Kaduna. They are the ones that are responsible, and only an independent judicial panel can investigate them. And let us see what the pre and post mission assessment is. And the crime scene should not be contaminated. The military will not investigate itself. This is reprehensible, unacceptable, should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet like they've been done before.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you. All of this, of course, affecting potentially Nigeria's global image, which is potentially affecting investment and the economy. What's your assessment of the international implications?
The world is watching us. The president just came back from COP28. World leaders watching. Your military dropped bomb to kill over 100 of your people.
Well, it's the top story, at least the second story after Gaza
the world,
in many international
what
news
we are seeing, the
organizations.
clips are all over the state. My friends from the United States are calling to tell me, these are the same clips we see from Gaza Strip. Your military is killing our people, and this is the same military who wants to go and fight other people in Niger Republic. The international implication, Charles, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
The optics is not good. You remember during Jonathan, the international community refused to sell arms to Nigeria because of this kind of humanitarian abuses. And this is exactly what it's saying. Who will sell arms to lethal arms? To a military that drops bombs on its people and is blasé and making excuses from DHQ.
And what about the people that they went to fight ostensibly? What impact might this have on the war against banditry?
To be honest with you, if you ask me, what is the war on banditry? The current crop of leadership of the military, all they have been talking when they came in the last several months, all they've been talking, they've been hawkish. We're going to continue the kinetic, magnetic, whatever, but they haven't told us one thing, any new idea or plans to do anything differently from what they've been doing over the last 8 years.
I wonder if this makes any sense to you, because the military have been saying that there are standing instructions for communities in areas that are plagued by terrorism and banditry to always inform the army of their movement and activities, but that was not done.
Whoever is saying this should stop irritating Nigerians. We're not in the mood. It is the duty and responsibility of government to protect us. The intelligence services should be there. We're not there to do their work. The intelligence services should tell them. Nobody should drop a bomb on people and come and blame the people and say it's the community that did not. They should be bombing Sambisa Forest, not our people. For the last 14, 15 years, they've been not been able to dominate Sambisa Forest where they should be bombing. Instead, they are bombing innocent villagers, women and children. And the concern, we are talking to people, traditional rulers are talking to people, clerics are talking and coming to people. The military is threading on very thin ice.
Yes.
That procession was religious procession.
I was going to ask you that rather worryingly and perhaps dangerously, I understand that there are elements in northern Nigeria who are not only suggesting that the forces of order that they trust to protect them have turned to abusing their authority, but they are also giving a religious interpretation or slant to this attack. I mean, what light can you shed on that?
No, that's why I'm saying the optics are very bad for the military. Very, very bad. The Muslim clerics in the north came and sold this fraudulent Muslim ticket, and we have Muslim vice president, Muslim president. Our people in the north are saying, well, you are killing Muslims. You are inflicting a lot more pain on Muslims. You close the border along all seven northern states because of you want to go to war with Niger. You are inflicting pain on top of that. Now you are killing Muslims. And look at the military hierarchy. People are being mischievous. Look at the operational military hierarchy and look at their religion. They need to be very careful. The military needs to be very careful and start doing damage control fast. Meeting community leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, and stop issuing these annoying, stupid statements from DHQ.
So, I mean, Professor Usman Yusuf, you have a lot of experience, not just in terms of public policy, but certainly in terms of issues that are related to security. I mean, you worked with the former Chief of Defense Staff, Secretary to the committee that negotiated the release of the last batch of hostages. What is the solution to this security crisis, not just in the north, but in other parts of Nigeria as well, such as the southeast? Is it necessarily political and not military? What would your recommendations be?
I have said it time and time again. All these major three conflicts you have in Nigeria, from banditry in the northwest and the north central, now is going to the northeast, to Boko Haram, to the IPOB issue in the southeast. None of these problems are military. The military did not bring banditry. Neither did it bring Boko Haram or that. This is all as a result of corruption and bad governance. Politicians brought this mess, and the military is brought in to clean up after their mess. And the military is thinking they are going to solve this problem because the past president, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, thought and looked at banditry just in the prism of military. I've said it time and time again, there's a role for the military. There is not going to be a military solution to any of these three conflicts, because in the history of warfare, nowhere have conflicts like this been won on the battlefield. And they're saying no dialogue, no dialogue. Whoever says that doesn't know what he's talking about. Dialogue is a legitimate tool of warfare everywhere in the world. You must dialogue. Currently, as we speak, the governor of Borno State last week said there are over 160,000 Boko Haram, repentant Boko Haram. They didn't come because you go killing. By dialoguing and getting them, you have done one thing and you've gotten them off of the battlefield. And you must solve this problem. The military, Nigerian military, is spread all across 36 states. Does not have the capacity, we know, doesn't have people on the ground. We've been to 9 forests, there's not a single soldier in our forest. They are dropping ordnance thinking they won this war, they win this war by dropping ordnances. No. We need to back off. There's a role for the military. There's not going to be a military solution. It's a whole community approach. Everybody must be involved. The current leadership of the military, their body language and what they are talking about, they are being hawkish. There's a reason. They are rattling the cage for more money. Well, guess what? They've gotten more money. The little budget we have, they have the largest, the lion's share.
Well, actually, I want to talk a little bit about money with regard to what the National Security Advisor was quoted as saying. Nuhu Ribadu was recently reported as saying that President Tinubu inherited an empty treasury from President Buhari. What are your thoughts on those revelations with regard to the sort of things that you were talking about?
Yeah, Charles, you didn't bring me here today to annoy me.
Well, I brought you here to tap into your analytical capacities and your assessment ability.
Look, Charles, the NSA came and said, well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came and met an empty treasury. First of all, that's not his job. Somebody else should say that. Number two, well, you met an empty treasury. This is APC to APC. It's your government. Number three, you know those who empty the treasuries? Many of them are in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government.
So go after them.
Absolutely. The one that was going after them, the EFCC chairman, Abdurrashid Ba, was locked up. And then those he was investigating were made in the ministers in the cabinet. So, and another thing, Charles, is like they are playing with our intelligence. You say you met an empty treasury. And after that, see what you guys are doing. The president in the budget, supplementary budget, he said, oh, almost 7 billion for SUVs for himself. 1.5 billion SUVs for his wife. 5 billion for a yacht for himself. And the members of House of the National Assembly, they allocated themselves, or the president gave them 75 billion for vehicles. You know how much they gave to 36 states as palliatives? 2 billion times 6. That is 72 billion to 36 states. But members of the National Assembly gave themselves 75 billion just to buy vehicles. And then look at, they went to COP, is it 28 or 20?
COP 28.
COP 28. Over 1,400 delegations.
Yeah, but in fairness to them, that's not all sponsored by the government. The government only sponsored about 400 and something.
That's what they said. How many did they pay for their tickets?
Well, yeah,
whatever it is, Charles.
Most people who go to
Charles,
those things, I mean,
Charles,
they would buy their own
Let me tell you,
tickets.
Charles.
Yeah.
We are not. If you are a president, you say we are broke. You ask everybody for sacrifices. Show it.
Absolutely, I agree with that assessment.
And I said it again and again in Hausa media before. Mr. NSA, this is not your job. This is politics. You're straying into politics. You have a lot of work to do in security that you're not doing.
Right. Well, let's. We've got a couple of minutes before we have to go and end this absolutely fascinating chat. But meanwhile, we've still got the female students who were abducted from the Federal University in Gusau in September, and those from Federal University Dutsima in Katsina. I remember you referring to those abductions as President Tinubu's Chibok moment.
Absolutely.
It is now 11 weeks since those abductions. What's the latest on
11
them?
weeks. And I want every Nigerian to think, as you tuck your children to bed, these children, these girls are in the forest. All the elements, rain, and it's now hammer time. I have had parents have reached out to me because of my work with CDSAT and sent me video clips, audio and video clips of these children, saying, begging, pleading for us to help them. And there's nobody. Neither the authorities of the university, nor the state governor, nor anybody in the federal government have reached out to these parents. Reached out to these parents. They're in the forest. So one of the girls was saying there are over 50 of them, all girls in the forest. And they said, this terrorists, the parents were telling me that they offered to pay these terrorists money. The terrorists say, no, they don't have gripes with them, they have gripes with the government. They don't want their money. So for goodness sake, federal government of Nigeria, state government, your primary responsibility of government is to protect our people. Our daughters are out there. And you're junketing going all over the place. Abuja is full of glittering brand new SUVs. What manner of human beings have we become?
On that note, Prof, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's always brilliant talking with you, even if in these rather depressing circumstances. Professor Usman Yusuf is a noted public policy expert. He's also a medical doctor and is the former secretary to the Chief of Defense Staff's committee that negotiated the release of the last batch of train hostages. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.